edition of Beavertown Outdoors. I'm John, out here at the beautiful Beavertown compound, and today we're going to talk about the wood supply here at the beautiful Beavertown compound, particularly where we're at for this burning season. And we're going to take a walk out to the wood yard, and we're going to see how well the wood that I split over the summer, cut, split, stacked, see how that's drying out. Maybe even a little comparison between the ones we stacked in the Holzhousens and what's stacked the more conventional route in the rows. And we're going to compare those. So, if you needed proof that this has been a mild winter, you guys can remember all the times I showed you stacking this all up, and the wood shelter was full. It was full all the way out to the edges of the pallets, all the way to the top, just like over here. This thing was full. Now, in a normal year with the Classic Edge 550, I'd burn, so far I'd been burning in a normal winter almost all of it. I'd have about maybe a full cord left at most. Depends on how long the cold went. But you know, by this time, I should already be starting into this cord here, or into this row here. You know, I'd be well past half of the wood for the season. But as you can see here, I got one row that's empty, and I'm still in the second row. And I've actually got, I'll move over here so you guys can see it. So you can see I've got almost one row here, and I still got two more rows behind it. So that tells you that this winter has been a little mild. To say a little mild is an understatement. Now, obviously, you know, in years past, I did have what would be considered, you know, a conventional boiler. I had the Ridgewood stoves, which later became Easy Boiler. I think they're still around. They're built in Michigan. I switched a couple years ago to this, which is the Central Boiler Classic Edge 550. Part of that was not so much concern with the environment, the EPA, and all that. It was more how much wood I consumed. The less wood I consume, the more I have to, more time to myself in the summer. Not last summer, as you all saw in a lot of videos, but, you know, more time I have for doing other things besides firewood. You know, the Ridgewood, I was pretty much a slave to that. I was burning, on average, I would say I was burning, I don't know, 12 full cord a year, 14 on a bad year. This, I'm burning, so far, again, I think this year is going to be the least, the least I've had to burn, but I'd say maybe on its biggest year, I think I burned maybe 7, almost 8 full. You know, they advertise these. They advertise these as having to burn, get in there so you can see it, 50% less wood. So, almost there. I'd say it depends. You know, if your wood is dry, seasoned, split relatively small compared to boiler wood, you know, that you're about half. Maybe you're not quite that low, but it's definitely a difference. It's a noticeable difference. So that has helped with, you know, this shelter. This shelter here has, you know, actually with the old boiler, if I didn't have a mild year, I was still going out to the wood yard. I was still fetching more wood. With this one, you know, knock on wood, I have not had to do an emergency refill. I haven't had to go out in the wood yard and dig out a path and bring wood up. yet to have a year with this that this didn't serve us for the year. This wasn't enough. This shelter, you know, I figured it out. I want to say this holds roughly 8-9 full cord. So, you know, it doesn't quite hold the 12 that I used to have. Don't hold me to that. You know, don't beat me up in the comments too much on that. You know, it could be a little more, it could be a little less. Not quite sure. You know, some of it depends too on how I stack it and, you know, how much I get in there. This year I really filled this to capacity, and in years past I didn't quite get as full as it was. I had a problem with, you know, the wood falling down because it was just in large long rows that went all the way across with nothing divided them, no support in the middle. This year I added some supports. So I put a couple of beams across the middle, so basically made bunks. You know, put a few boards up so that way it had more support. It wasn't a big long row, because it seemed like when I had the big long row, you'd get one section that, you know, if you didn't have it stacked just right, or the ground changed a little bit underneath to when it, you know, freeze thaw, you know, if you got one section that started to go, it took the whole thing with it. And more than once it took the whole, like it took multiple rows and just devastated them. So I think in a previous video, and I'll look, and if I can find it, I'll put a card in here. I'll put a link to it up here in the corner, that you know, having to restack. So, and then let's see, my helper's here. Hi, Louie. Louie, you want to come say hi to the people? You're busy. He's busy looking for critters. So anyway, so that's where I'm at with the wood supply for the year, for this year's burning. So what I want to do now is we're gonna take a walk out to the wood yard. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna pull a couple pieces out of the Holzhousens, and I'm gonna pull a couple pieces off of the stacks, and I'm gonna split them, get out the old moisture meter, and see where they're at. See which one's drying, see if there's a noticeable difference of which ones are drying faster. Plus, for my own knowledge, to know where I'm at, make sure, you know, that I'm in good shape for next year. I think I will be. You know, we still got the whole summer to go. You know, if they're not close, I'll probably leave them out there over the summer and wait till the fall to move wood in under the shelter, because, you know, out there in the wood yard they get sun, wind, everything that they need to dry quickly. And so, like I said, we'll do a comparison and see which one's working better for me. So, we're going to take a walk out here to the wood yard. And if you can see around me, the snow's pretty well gone. You know, we are back to somewhat reality. We have, you know, we're back into the 30s. And, you know, so it's, you know, it's more like winter, but, you know, for Michigan in February, this is still pretty mild. You know, we're usually in the 20s. At least we used to be. I don't know if this is going to be permanent or not. But, you know, I hate to say it, comfort-wise, I like it. I know, though, that with this added comfort comes some downfalls for the greater good of the environment. So, but, you know, I guess enjoy the weather while we can, right? So, I'm out here at the wood yard. So, like I said, we're going to check. I'm going to pull a couple pieces out of the Holzhausen. Actually, I think just to make it a fair comparison, I'm going to pull from this one, because this is the one that's as close in time to this row here. This was the last Holzhausen I stacked. This was the first row that I stacked. So to get the closest amount of time, I think I'm going to pull from here, and I'm going to pull from back here in the stack. So obviously this isn't perfectly scientifically sound. Some of this, I guess, would border on anecdotal, but, you know, I mean, one thing you can see already here, you know, this Holzhausen was, again, the last one I stacked right before I started stacking this. And you can see, at least on the outside, you know, the wood's already getting gray on the end. It's not checked very much, but I think some of that has to do with temperature and everything else as well. But over here, you know, we're starting to get a little gray, but there's a lot of it that you can, I don't know if you can tell by the color, you know, but the darker, it's still got that reddish brown, especially towards the center. Like, I don't know, look at this pieces right here. You know, that's still, this is still really, that's still really wet. Nowhere near ready to burn. You know, a lot of this, at least the outer rings, you know, this one looks, just by looks, looks like it's ready to go. And I mean, you can see it's checked. Some of these gaps seem to shrink up a little bit. You know, but like over here, and unfortunately the wind has blown my tarp up a little bit, so I got more rain on this than I'd liked. You know, but this was the first one. This is the first Holzhausen we stacked, and this one is definitely, especially the top, is gray, but the lower, you know, the lower levels, I mean, you still can see where it's a little wet, but the ends are definitely dry. So I'm thinking, I don't know, thinking so far the Holzhausen's winning, but you know, the rows definitely stack quicker. You know, you got a little more effort into these Holzhausens. So, but only one way to find out, really. That's to measure it. So we'll get started on that. Okay, so like I said, we're gonna take a couple pieces and we're gonna split them, and we're gonna take a moisture measurement and see where each one of them's going. So do that. You're gonna need two things. One, you're gonna need a mode to split this, and this is what I have for splitting this. Okay, you need an axe. I mean, you can use your splitter, you can check it, but while you're splitting, but you know, I'm not gonna drag the Rugged Mate out here just to split a couple pieces to check moisture. So for that, the Fiskars X27, I think that's going to be the ticket. The other thing is a moisture meter. Now there's a lot of them out there. You can buy one at Harbor Freight. You can get them on Amazon. You can get, I had one that came with the boiler from Central Boiler, which is a little one. I didn't like that one so much. It was, you know, small and hard to read, but power saving, gotta love it. This is the one I've been using lately. I did get on Amazon. It's Accurate Instruments. It's a really nice moisture meter. It actually has different calibrations for different kinds of wood, which, if you can see them right on the back there, there's a couple of different modes. There's mode for lumber, for doing in a house, and then there's for firewood. But for firewood, it has a chart here, and it's calibrated, so it claims to be more accurate that way. I don't know exactly the science behind it. I do know, I mean, I know every moisture meter, what you're checking actually is the resistance in the wood. I believe the less resistance, the more, or the wetter the wood is. It's looking, the drier wood is going to have more resistance. So that's what this is checking. It's a fancy ohm meter with some spikes. But I'll fire this up here, and you can see, I don't know if you can see the screen there. There we go. So down here, you got the little letter here, and it's on A. And since we're splitting oak, you know, it does say red oak and white oak both use calibration A. So I've got that set to it. You know, but we can have there's different modes and different controls. And if you want to look these up, you can see what the different modes are. But this set I've got set for firewood. So I'm going to take a couple pieces off, and we're going to get them set up. I've got a block down here that you can see, and we're going to use the Fiskars. We're going to split them, so that way we're getting an accurate measurement, and we'll go from there. Okay, so here we are at that back Holzhausen. Now I'm going to take from this side, because I think this side's getting less sun than say the rest of it, you know, the sun kind of moves across east to west. You know, out here, this way is kind of north, so the north side is going to get the least, but I think this is a fair comparison to what's on the other side. So, and I'm going to unbury it. I know this is, I'm going to try to get a couple pieces that are going to be fairly easy to split. You know, and yes, they're going to be towards the top. Not much I can do about that. But we'll take them. I mean, we can see them here. You know, you got to cut. Here's 3 good pieces. And you can see how the ends are graying on this one. Not so much this, the outer edges. So we're going to take these 3 pieces and check them. All right. So we'll split these pieces here. I get it to stand nice. There, that one's staying up there. All right. So check it here. We're getting a good shot. There we go. That's one. I love this fist guards because for this I don't have to swing oh so hard. Except I winged it on that one. We'll edit that part out. There's 2. This piece actually got a few mushrooms on there. That was kind of a glancing blow, but I think we'll be all right there. Maybe a couple pieces of kindling. Okay, so I got a couple. I split those pieces. Yes, I know I got kind of a glancing blow on one of them, but that happens. So take this off here and get these, get it to where you can see the, you know, you get to see the spikes there. So I have this piece here. Now this is a piece I gave kind of a glancing blow to, but I'm gonna move over here so I can see. But we're gonna push in there. So right about 21%. So, you know, 21% compared to, yeah, so even the ends are still 20.8. Inside here, 21.6. All right, so that's the one I glanced. So that's the outer edge. This one, so you got the outer edge. This is the inside. So on the outside 13.1. Inside, but see, inside we're still 20.4. So we're right at that threshold where, I don't know in you guys' experience, but mine, oak seems to stall. Like it'll dry fairly quick for a while once to get down to that 20% mark, but then she slows up. And yeah, that's what I think this is doing here. So another piece outside, that was the outside edge there. You know, can you see that? 11%. So if you just did the outside edge without splitting it, you'd think, oh, no big deal. This is dry and ready to go. But then we go into the inside and we're at 25%. Hopefully you saw that. The other side of it, again, outside 10%. Oh, and the ends. So the end's 16. So that's a little closer to accurate. But then when we get on the inside, get that good in there, 25. So this is definitely not ready to burn. But again, this is the last Holzhausen. You know, this one's been sitting quite a long time now. This was back in early spring, late winter, early spring that I made this one. So we're this one's had a lot more time. This not so much. You know, in each one of these, I estimated about 2.5 full cord, maybe a little more. You know, so we're okay. I mean, we're gonna have about between two of them, thinking about 5 full cord. You know, so that's halfway of what I need for next year. Yeah. So, well, that's the Holzhausen. So now I'm gonna put this away. Shut off there. And then I'm going to put these pieces back, and then we're going to grab a couple pieces off of the traditional row. Okay, so I got 3 pieces from fairly deep into the pile over here. Apologies, I didn't film that. I forgot to hit go on the old camera there. But so I got 3 pieces here, and you can see, you know, outer edge, you can see where it's been exposed to the light, a little wind, and rain. You know, got started at some graying. This piece is going to be, see how well the Fiskars does splitting that. But these are relatively the same size pieces as what I had previously. So like I said, they're close to the same size pieces that, you know, I used from the Holzhausen. You know, try to make it as fair as possible. Again, this is not the end-all be-all scientific, but I'm just curious to see what it is. Like I said, these are from the back side of the stack over here, which was the first. So that's first bunch that I stacked in the first row. So, which is right after I finished the other Holzhausen. So that should be as fair as I can get it. Not gonna be perfect, but at least it'll give me an idea. So again, we're going to line up, except I'm going to get this meter out of here. I prefer not to chop my meter with the old Fiskars axe. Alright, got that lined up there. There we go. Got one. And I can see already, I'll show you in a minute, that piece is still super wet inside. This has a couple of big knots in it, so let's see how well it splits. Yeah. I was afraid of that. There, we got it. Just put some muscle behind it, right? There. Another piece. Try to keep it out of the dirt. This one's kind of a skinnier piece. So that's one thing too, you know, especially with oak, you know, the smaller splits should dry faster. So kind of got a little range there too. Some of the bigger size versus the small. You know, I believe I've heard before from many people, oak dries about 1 inch per year. I believe that's what it was, 1 inch per year. So if you have a 4-inch split piece, you know, 4-inch split, this is a little less than that. You should be able to dry right about to the center within a year. Yeah, that's about right, because each side, you know, if you got 1 inch from all directions, that isn't a perfect world though. If that piece was sitting out in the open, where it was getting air, sun, everything all the way around it, in a stack, they're not getting so much. So, but there's an argument for a 4-inch split piece. Now, if you have a conventional boiler and whatnot, and you want the bigger pieces, that's all on you. You know, just know that, you know, if your wood's still wet, you're trying to burn water. But anyway, let's get to splitting this last one. Small target, as usual. I miss. Try one more time. Yeah. Not quite perfect. Not quite perfect, but, you know, it got to the middle of it. You can already see, you know, this hasn't had a full year even. Obviously, this is not as dry as the outside. So, I'll reposition the camera. Again, got a couple of more kindling blocks here, and we'll do some more testing. So, once again, my moisture meter, it. Take the prongs off here. And just so there's no chance of anybody saying, oh, you changed the calibration, you see right there, it's still on A. Okay, so that one I just did, let's start with that one. That'd probably be a good test run here. Again, I'll come on this side of the camera. Okay, so on the outside, where we can see visually it's dry, 17.1. If I turn it to where it's in the center, 27.6. Definitely not ready to burn. Okay, another piece we split, gray part. Even there, we're at 20.5. But down here, okay, 12.9. Or if we just did the ends, you know, the ends were still showing 21. On the inside where we just split it, hopefully you can see 26. Okay. Do one more, I think we get the picture. Okay. So this one on the end, 12.9. Outside 13. Inside 26.0. Well, just for giggles, I went to splitting this. You'll see again, sharp contrast. I got really dug in there. 17.9, so you know that would be higher end of moisture for me, ready to burn. But then on the inside, 26.2. Not there yet. Well, I hope that was a fairly good test for everybody. You know, that pretty much surprised me a little bit. Not really. You know, I'd heard the Holzhausen dries the wood a little bit quicker, and I think I'll go back through this, make sure I'm accurate in saying this, but I think, if my feeble memory serves me right, the wood from the Holzhausen that had a difference of maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks of dry time, that had less moisture, you know, than the wood that was over here in the conventional row. So we'll see. You know, I'm not going to move any right now. We'll see more in the, I'll do this test again probably later in the spring or at the beginning of summer, and see where we're at with things. See how it continues to dry. I might even actually look to get some on the inside of the Holzhausen just to compare what's on the outside versus the inside. This is just a quick comparison. So, well, that's going to do it for me today, guys. If you like what you saw, please hit the like and subscribe. Feel free to share as always. So, till next time, from all of us here at the beautiful Beavertown compound, Take care of each other. Be good. Stay safe. And I'm out.